And we are in the park again today with our new fleet and our Warhammer fleet. And our new fleet is World War II Pacific kind of themed. So battleships that look like battleships, aircraft carriers that look like aircraft carriers, and destroyers that look like destroyers, and cruisers that are based off of the Atlanta, because I think the Atlanta was a fine ship with a lot of extra guns, a lot of anti-aircraft guns on the Atlanta. But we are going to first with this guy right here, and then with a very controlled spritz of white, we are going to give him some highlights, just like that. And we can see that we've got some definition going all of a sudden, and a little spritz on the bottom towards the hull, and there we go. He is mostly painted and ready to go. And we're going to go with, I'm thinking a gray or maybe this olive brown. And how would an olive brown wash look on these guys? We will find out. I forgot to get all my brushes out. So we spent the last couple of days redesigning our 40K fleet because it was never going to work. And what I thought is, instead of a wash, I thought I would just go ahead and dry brush these guys. And let's see if that has the effect that I wanted. And if not, we can always go back, and we have plenty of extra destroyers printed up. So we got we're a little too thick, a little too thick. So we can thin that out a little bit. Just a little bit of water. We're just gonna say we put too much pigment on, and now we want to loosen it up and spread it around. And because the Warhammer fleet is going to be kind of brightly colored, I hope, I thought I'm just going to go more traditional battleship colors. This is technically a tank color, but I don't think anybody will mind. But the idea of I'm going to go with just more normal colors that you would expect from a war game instead of the brightly lit stuff, and let's just see how that works out. I've messed this one up already a bit by having my pigment being a little too thick. And forgive my constant sniffling. I just moved back to Atlanta from many years in Seattle, and I'm not used to the pollen down here. So that is just an extra challenge. Challenges can be fun. There we go. I want it to be very loose, very thin on the paint. And we will also, of course, give him a dark wash. We'll give them all a dark wash. Don't want any real white showing. And it's tempting to just go ahead and try to thicken that paint up. That's not what we want to do. It's what I do all the time. But that's not correct. And I think that brown is going to turn out really well. for these guys. Forgive my paint-stained hands. I am usually happiest when I've got paint all over my hands. And we are just going to give us a dry brush. We will probably go ahead with the dark wash, just because I notice that there are a lot of nooks and crannies that my dry brush does not want to get into. It's very much fun painting outside. It's very different than painting inside or even outside in Seattle. I think because the humidity is a little bit different. And right now, with a slight little breeze going, the paint dries wonderfully fast. Maybe a little too fast. Let's see, and yesterday we talked a bit about Space Marines in the 40K fan game, video game proposal. I've been calling it a fan game, but really it's a proof of concept for the game that I really want to make. The game I really want to make is basically an open universe simulation of the Warhammer Imperium, but where the player and their opponent are the two lost Primarchs. And I was thinking that it'd be fun to let the player design their own Primarch, and then their opponent might just be diametrically opposed, just the exact opposite. But we haven't gotten that far yet. I'm not trying not to think about, oh, I got the brush all wet. That's okay. Because right now we are just wanting to cover everything that's too white. And we're going to rely on our dark wash to, that is good. That is a tough spot to get into. There's a lot of nooks and crannies in this guy, so he's going to take a little while. In fact, maybe I should just start with a wash instead of a dry brush. And since I've got the brush all wet, that's a good start. Good place to try it. And we'll just mix up a little bit of water into our field gray, I think. And let's just try coating it. Getting into that problem with the hydrophobic nature of the Games Workshop primer. So I'm gonna talk to somebody one day on how to get around that, and maybe just not use whatever flavor white scar white. I've always loved Chaos Black, the primer from Games Workshop, but I'm not really loving their white very much. And yet I always get it. It's not the best for me. So there we go. At least we're giving everything a nice coating. I think the dry brush is going to work a little bit better in the long run. And I missed a bit on the spray primer on the bottom of the hull, but I do that often. Of course, these U.S. spaceships, like the Atlanta here, are heavily based on Yamato. Maybe needs a red hull. Not happy with that one. I think we will go back to our dry brushing, and we will come over here so that we are not quite so wet. Need to shake him up a little bit more. That was not a good bit of paint. There we go. It looks a lot better now. And just dry brushing him. It's just going to take a little while. It's not going to be a quick dry brush like I'm used to. But lovely day. And I think we have 2 or 3 days until the Stellarfest convention in Duluth near Atlanta. I think those torpedoes are going to look great. And I don't have anything to sell at my booth, so I'm going to bring some paints. I'm going to bring my fleets and a nice battle mat and work out some nice generic Starship combat rules. And a little bit of patience here is going to go a long way. But it's just going to require that bit of patience as we try to go over and cover up all that white, but not too thickly so that the lighting, the value shines through. We just want to give it some pigment. And that's going to tone that down nicely. Using a bit much on the dry brushing because I'm lazy and I want it to go quick, which is not what I should be doing right now. Especially since everything that's white is where the light is catching it. It'll be a very nice effect if we don't cover that up and the shadows can come through. And it looks like we will be giving him a wash of dark after he dries. There we go. That is it's a nice looking ship. Okay. Again, we're not giving much over to the bottom because nobody's going to see it. We don't want anyone to see it. People will pick the ship up and look underneath because that's what people do, but they'll be disappointed because that is not going to be the focus. We are mostly just going to concentrate on the top, and not too bad. It all needs a wash, and no clue how to go about that. Here's going to be our big battleship for these guys. And let's add a little bit more pigment down. It's a very nice runny pigment. So we're going to want to just dry that off a bit and try to cover up the whites. We redesigned our entire 40K fleet, so I'm sure that there will be confusion because I'm not designing it as a 40K fleet, but just as a 40K inspired fleet. And I'll be asking people a lot of their opinions on Starship Combat. And I don't want to lose that beautiful bit of shading along the sides. I'm going to try to keep that as much as possible. Now that is about the right amount of pigment so that our lights are shining through, our lights and darks are shining through. And it should hopefully create a wonderful effect. It'll look a lot better after the washes, I think. Because we're going to give it a dark wash, and that is going to bring out a lot of the detail that suddenly gets lost after we've applied some color. And it's good practice not doing something that's Warhammer, because yeah, there's a bit of a printing error there, but that's okay. We're not a professional printer. We're not perfect. We're happy with what we got for the most part. And we will go back to, yeah, they're all looking pretty good at that color. It's a nice, fairly realistic color. And this is the one that we gave the wash to first. And he has some really, for the most part, he's got some really nice coverage. So maybe they all will need the olive, the field gray. Is it field gray? Field gray color. And I'm gonna cheat and put the wash down on some areas that are just not getting covered very much. And one more, and we will move back over to our Dark Angels fleet. We don't want, we got this sponge right here to eat up our excessive moisture. And if you're in Atlanta, and if I can get this uploaded before the weekend, please come to the Cellarfest convention and share some stories, say hello. A lot of lessons learned this week. Mainly, don't let the ships get too high. They're all 3D printed, so they're a bit fragile. We went through and redesigned our flight stand, and I'll have those on my my webpage for a free download. If anybody wants to try them, they seem to be working out okay. Little space scenes, some rocks hovering over a city, that sort of thing, and a little bit. In about 3 weeks, I return to Seattle for the summer, and probably coming back to Atlanta in November. That seems the smart way to do it. I will be spending the nice months in Seattle and then the cold months down here. So, best of both worlds. Just trying to cover up some of those way too bright areas, but the overall effect, I think, is rather nice. So the lighting from our two different primers, white and black, Goes over very nice, very evenly. Has some beautiful scenery out in front. And I think next we're going to work on our battleship, which, since we have this gray, I wonder how it will look on our planet. And hopefully what I'd like is to try to make the night side of the planet here kind of glowy, reminiscent of lights. And we are going to work on that. But every spire on this little thing is going to need personal care. And on that note, we will be back. And thank you.